Welcome to Kishwar's Picks Week 17 edition. Cannot believe this is the final week of regular season play. Quick recap of last week. I went 10-6 with my picks. Not the best. However, no one expected to see Tennessee Titans and the Jets to lose like that. The Titans lost because Mariota went out, and the Jets I expected to cover because the line was 16.5, and next thing you know, they lost by... Let's not disclose them now. I'm pretty sure you guys know by now. This team, I don't even know what to say about them. They're heading for a 4-12 season, and I do not expect for wholesale changes to come, only because this is Todd Bowles' second year, and I don't expect Woody Johnson to pull the trigger just yet. I believe he will get another year under his belt and hope to turn this around. Poor guy had a very rough Friday night, was hospitalized, and then traveled to Foxborough to coach this pathetic team, and unfortunately the team didn't show up for him. I thought the team would actually play for the coach because of what he was going through at the time, and unfortunately they just were nowhere to be found. Bryce Petty seems like he's an injury-prone quarterback. Not sure if he will be the day one starter going into next season. Fitz will be starting this Sunday, so Hackenberg redshirted, unfortunately. So that's the state of the Jets. Enough about that. This is the final week, week 17. Not a lot of playoff implications, especially because AFC playoff picture is set and NFC is only 2 spots up for grabs. So with all that being said, let's dive into our games this week. There are no Thursday games this week. All games will be on Sunday. And the first game we have is Baltimore at Cincinnati. Disappointing season for Cincinnati. Marvin Lewis will probably be let go after this year. First time in 6 years they haven't made the playoffs. AJ Green being out and the defense not being up to par mainly cost the Bengals their season. Ravens had Pittsburgh by their ropes on Sunday. I thought they would pull it out at the end, but unfortunately they blew the game at the end. And they're out of the playoff picture as well. I don't expect John Harbaugh to get fired, but I do expect... some major changes in Baltimore. Baltimore will beat Cincinnati. Moving on to Houston Texans at Tennessee Titans. All along, I wanted Titans to make the playoffs with Marcus Mariota. Unfortunately, he broke his leg. Now he'll be out 4 to 5 months. The Titans will have him back for OTAs. Texans, Tom Savage actually changed their entire franchise, to be honest with you. Brock Osweiler will probably be cut this offseason. That's going to be a massive pay cut. Not pay cut, it's a massive hit the Texans will take, but they have to do it. This guy was a thief. We all know he will not get paid anywhere again. He'll probably be backing up somewhere else next year. So Texans already clinched the South, and they'll be traveling to Tennessee, and the Titans starting quarterback will be Matt Castle. No thank you. Texans will win on the road. Moving on to Carolina Panthers at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There are 8 different things that need to happen for Buccaneers to make the playoffs. Don't expect any of those to happen. And one of them is Giants and Redskins has to end in a tie. Not going to happen. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a very good season. I applaud Jameis Winston and company to have such a good season. Carolina Panthers, defending runners-up of Super Bowl, and they are nowhere near the playoffs. It's unfortunate, but Cam Newton, he had a pretty roller coaster of a season, and the defense is nowhere near as good as last year. So Panthers, disappointing year, comes to an end. I picked Tampa Bay to beat them at home. Moving on to Jacksonville Jaguars and Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, they were starting to come back at Raiders once Derek Carr went out of the game, but they couldn't complete the comeback, which led to their exit from the playoff race. Jacksonville Jaguars, Blake Bortles looked very good without without Gus Bradley. Doug Martin as their coach. Blake Bortles actually looked like an NFL quarterback, so maybe next year he will be a full-time coach, unless Tom Coughlin signs up for that job. The Jaguars, another disappointing year. Many people predicted it for them to win the South this year, but that wasn't the case. And the Colts, we all know how Jim Irsay will doom this team as long as he keeps Ryan Grigson employed. So, without, massive changes this offseason, the Colts will remain who they are. However, I'll pick them to win against the Jaguars this Sunday. Moving on to New England and Miami. The Dolphins have clinched the playoffs since 2008. Congrats to them. As a Jet fan and diehard Dolphin hater, It sucks for me to acknowledge them in the playoffs, but they earned it. They started 1-4 and then went on a roll after that. So it was very good for their fan base to see that. Matt Moore is probably going to be starting throughout the playoffs. Well, I only expect him to make it to wild card, and that's it, one and done. Not sure if Tannehill will come back. Tom Brady and company will travel to Miami. They always have a hard time there, but I don't think they will actually lose this one. Usually they lose at Dolphins every year on the last game of the season because they just throw in the towel and just avoid injury for playoffs. However, I think this year they'll play hard, especially because the last 2 years they've been losing there. So Patriots will beat Miami. Moving on to Chicago Bears at Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings 5-0 start, and then they just went straight to abyss. I cannot believe that team tanked so bad. Teddy Bridgewater might be back next year. Not sure what his future looks like. Not sure if Sam Bradford comes back to Vikings. The Bears, I don't know if Jay Cutler will come back. He probably shouldn't. He should be a free agent. Matt Barkley looked pretty good, and Bears might take him going into next season and have him compete for the starting job with Brian Hoyer maybe. But Bears 3-12 season has been pretty bad for them as well. I'll take Minnesota Vikings at home to win. Moving on to Buffalo at New York Jets. Bills just fired Rex Ryan today, which is a shocker. Now, one game left in the season. I didn't expect them to do that. I don't think Rex Ryan will be a head coach ever again in the NFL. He'll probably be a D coordinator or end up in TV next season. The Jets, they'll probably lose this game. Fitzpatrick will be starting. This team, I can't wait for this season to end because it was just painful throughout the year. Next year will probably be much of the same because the schedule won't help us out. But I'm very glad to see the Jets close their season this Sunday because I just simply can't take it anymore. Moving on to Buffalo will beat New York. Moving on to Dallas at Philadelphia. The Cowboys might even start Mark Sanchez instead of Tony Romo, which is a shocker, but I see what they're trying to do. They're just trying to increase Romo's value because they don't want to see him injured. And so that he can be a trade bait in the offseason. Philadelphia Eagles at home. Carson Wentz had a decent year, although their team didn't. They started off great, and they just somehow the season just went nowhere. So I'm gonna pick the Eagles to close this one out at home with a win against the Cowboys. So we can count that as an upset of the week. Moving on to Cleveland Browns at Pittsburgh Steelers. Congrats to Cleveland Browns and their fan base for finally winning a game this year. Long overdue, best Christmas present to all Brown fans. They're traveling to Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday. Landry Jones will probably be starting as opposed to Ben Roethlisberger. I expect the Browns to win again on the road this week and finish the year 2-14. The Steelers will probably take the day off. All their backups will be starting as they already clinched the third seed in the AFC. So Cleveland will win on the road. Moving on to New Orleans Saints at Atlanta Falcons, start with the 4 o'clock games. The Falcons will probably clinch number 2 seed, and I think they can make a deep playoff run with that offense. The defense is underrated. They have been pretty good this year. I hope they travel well in the playoffs. Should they go to Dallas for the NFC title game, well, then that high-flying offense will be hard to take down in the playoffs. Julio Jones is back at full strength. Expect him to do well on Sunday against New Orleans' putrid defense. Drew Brees, another good year for him. However, it's not going to result in a playoff berth. Maybe Sean Payton does get let go this year. Who knows? But Falcons will secure a second seed and beat the Saints. Moving on to New York Giants at Washington Redskins. Redskins simply need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive and hope the Green Bay Packers beat the Detroit Lions. Unless, I'm not sure of an exact scenario if the Packers lose and Lions win, if Redskins can still get in. But Redskins has to win to keep the playoffs alive, period. The Giants already clinched the 5th seed. They don't have much to play. I think they should probably be resting most of their players. I'm going to pick the Redskins to win this game. Moving on to Arizona at Los Angeles Rams. Another team with Super Bowl aspirations when the season started. The Cardinals season was pretty disappointing. I think Carson Palmer will call it a career at the end of the season. And in doing so, he will go out on top by taking down the Rams. The Rams in Los Angeles, they need to quickly restructure their franchise because you will lose that fan base. fair weather fans, you can't blame him for it. The weather's always 60s. No need to waste 3 hours on a Sunday to see a pathetic Rams team play. So unless they make good changes, the Rams will not last long in LA. Moving on to Oakland Raiders and Denver Broncos. Tough blow for the Raider fans. Derek Carr, what a great season he had. Unfortunately, he'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks. There's a possibility, should the Raiders make the Super Bowl, Derek Carr will be back as a starter, but I don't expect Matt McGloin to do much as a starter. I did see some of him when he first started his rookie year, 3 years ago or 4 years ago maybe. He's not that good. I don't think he'll beat the Broncos. Broncos have nothing to play for. I think Paxton Lynch will start Sunday, but I don't think Matt McGloin will take the Raiders anywhere. They could be one and done in the playoffs. Moving on, Broncos win over the Raiders. Moving on to Kansas City at San Diego. San Diego, another disappointing season. Phillip Rivers. Hopefully he won't want to make a move and come to New York Jets next season. But I don't see that happening anyway. No one wants to come to the Jets. Kansas City, they could probably clinch the number 2 seed in AFC if they beat Chargers and Raiders lose. I do expect that to happen. I think Raiders will be the 5th seed and go to Texans for the playoff game. And I think Kansas City will secure the 2nd seed in AFC. Moving on to Seattle Seahawks and San Francisco 49ers. Another boring game, should I say. The 49ers, horrible team, horrible season. Chip Kelly might come back for another year, but this team needs to reevaluate everything from top to down, all the way down. So Seattle will go in. They already clinched the playoffs, so they will probably, just to have momentum, they'll probably wipe out the 49ers on Sunday. Moving on to Sunday Night Football, which has been flexed. Green Bay at Detroit, up for the NFC North title. The way Packers have been playing, there's no way, no how Lions will stop them. Stafford has been great all year round, but I don't think he can take down the monster Aaron Rodgers has become the last few weeks. Green Bay will win the North, depending on Washington game, which I predict they will win. I think Washington will make the playoffs and the Lions will just miss out. So there you have it, all these Week 17 picks. The lock of the week will be Seattle Seahawks at San Francisco, and the upset will be Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Cowboys, simply because the Cowboys won't play as hard. As always, like, subscribe, comment. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for watching all my videos throughout this regular season. I can't thank you guys enough for giving me all the views and the comments you've been giving me. I hope that continues going to next year. I'll sure have the playoff picks up next Tuesday. And everyone enjoy your New Year's Eve. Have a safe night. And we'll see you next year.